More? Yeah. Do you drink coffee in the morning? Body's not waking up quite as early as you yet. But remember, the more
The House will come to order. We welcome the Kansas National Guard, Honor Guard, with the presentation of the colors. Please stand. Honor Guard, post the colors. Please place your hand over your heart, and military veterans may salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the invocation by Speaker Pro Tem, Representative Chuck Schmidt.
I think an appropriate prayer for our session is the Peace Prayer of St. Francis. If you know it, you can join me. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not seek so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. Now it is the chair's pleasure to introduce the Ranking House Minority Leader, Vic Miller, for welcoming and opening remarks. Representative Miller.
Thank you. May I call you Senator?
You betcha.
Senator and I served 2 years together across the way as senators.
And he was a very good one, by the way.
That was the best. Well, welcome. Could you find a more appropriate person to welcome the silver-haired legislature? I first arrived in this chamber in 1979. I was 28 years old. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, how could anyone stand it for that long? No one can. I took about 30 years off before I returned. Served 6 years, came back to the House, went to the Senate, came back to the House. I've been a House freshman 3 times. Just to get to know my crowd a little bit, how many people are here for this event for the first time? How many are here more than the first time? Oh, more so than not. Well, welcome. I'm going to tell you a couple things about this chamber that those of you who've been here before may already know. One, while you're having your proceedings today, do not step in that aisle, okay? That is a firing offense, and I'm not making that up. It's a rule that while we're in session, you can't cross the aisle. If you want to get from there to there or from there to there, you got to go back there, behind. That's a rule. Do not violate that rule. Many people have lost their lives doing just that. Just a few months ago, a couple months ago, actually the last time I was down here speaking, I was speaking to a group of high school students. And one of the things that I was urging them to do was think seriously about running for elected office. Do I need to give that lecture to you? I need to tell him not to run for office. This young man over here and I sat right up there about that empty seat where the young lady is next to each other. That was the longest year of my service. I don't know how well you know Representative Schmidt, but he's very inquiring. He asks a lot of questions, always good questions, but I never met anyone so eager to learn as he was, and he did a great job while he was up here serving. Welcome back, Chuck. The other thing I want to talk about this chamber that, if you don't know it, I think it's a very interesting fact. If you look up there, there are some beautiful hand-painted murals that were painted in the original building. Those are original murals. When I came here in 1979, you didn't know that. They weren't there. Well, they were, but they weren't. Some fool, or fools over time, had actually painted over those murals several times. And a few years back, when the renovation of the Capitol occurred, I don't know how they do it, but they actually were able to remove all that paint and restore them to their original glory. Same thing can be said about these names around the chamber. When I was first here, you didn't know there were names there. Some fool had painted over them. It's interesting, the dumb stuff we do as a people, but I do want to point out just how beautiful this chamber is and how beautiful this Capitol building is. There was a controversy, I wasn't around, but there was a controversy in terms of the money that was spent renovating the building. But to a person, I don't think anyone today regrets what we invested in this. And as I travel across the country, and I do a lot anymore, meeting with my colleagues from around the nation, one thing that's overwhelming, and that is there's not a soul that visits our Capitol but doesn't say it's one of the most beautiful in the nation. So take some pride in this building. It deserves it. If you're new to the building, make sure you travel around the building and take in all its beauty on each of its floors. Welcome to the Capitol. Enjoy your day. Pass a bunch of resolutions that the majority party will ignore. See if it's not prophetic. I followed the silver-haired legislature for years. I know a lot about what you're about, and I appreciate the work you do, and I appreciate the beliefs that I think emanate from this body as a body. It is serious business. People do review your product, so keep that in mind as you discuss, debate, and entertain discussion of the important issues of the day. Welcome to Topeka. I'm from Topeka. I'm very proud of my city. For those of you that are visiting, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader Miller. Good to see you. Thank you for your good work here. And now, for our oath of office, I contacted the Secretary of State's office, and we didn't know exactly, there's moving parts over there. But we got a great person, Mr. Brian Caskey, to administer the oath. When I was in the Senate, I was on the Elections Committee, and Mr. Caskey was our resource person. I tell you what, I was always amazed at the stuff that he knew. And it was like me going to election school every time we had a committee meeting. I always expected to learn new stuff, and I was never disappointed. So, Mr. Caskey, I would ask you to administer the oath to our silver-haired legislature.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Senator, for those kind words. My name is Brian Caskey. I'm the State Director of Elections. I'm here to represent Secretary of State Scott Schwab. He gives his regrets. He woke up this morning with a little bit of a cold, so we thought it would be best that I would be here in his stead. So before I administer the oath, I just have a couple things to piggyback on Representative Miller. One, I want to encourage you to have fun today. I've been here several times before the silver-haired legislature, and I just encourage you to have fun, and more importantly, to challenge and to speak out, because we really need more people to be engaged throughout the process. I do oversee the elections in this state, and I do have a small request. I would encourage you, if you aren't already, to serve as a board worker in your local community. How many of you already have served as board workers? Poll workers on election day. Awesome, thank you. I would encourage all of you to do so. We are always looking for more people. I personally think it's a great experience. There's nothing more sacred to me than our right to vote, and so I would encourage you to do so. With that being said, I ask you all to please stand with me if you can or wish, and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of my office. So help me God. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you, and you were able to educate us today. Good to see you. All right, now the clerk will call the roll.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, delegates for Silverhair. I'm not as punctual as the rest of them. I'm going to call roll by PSA groups. I'm going to call first name only because I screw up last names. And if I do not call your name from that particular group, please get with me at some point today so that we can add your name to the list for the roll calls. PSA 1, Sherry. Thank you. Thomas. Thank you. Elton. Excused? Jacques. And I always mess yours. I keep thinking Jacques Cousteau. Alfred. Okay, or is there anyone else from PSA 1? Thank you. PSA 2, Leroy. Arnita. Michael is excused. Myself is here. Chuck. Thank you. And Charles is excused. PSA 3, Pam. Pam Bolton, okay. Janice.
Present.
Thank you. Alan. Steve. Roseanne. Roseanne Labarge. Darlene. Alfred. Twyla. Anne. Esther. Lois. Thank you. Terry. Eileen. PSA 4, Willard. He's on an errand. Thank you. Paula. Carolyn. Please put your phones on silent. Georgia. Thank you. I'm sorry, who said present after the fact? I didn't call him. What? Are you getting ahead of me? Okay, I was on Georgia. Thank you. Dawn. Anyone else from PSA 4 that I have not named, I have not called? Okay, thank you. PSA 5, I have Robin. Robin Oldham. Charlotte. Thank you. Vicky. Anybody else from PSA 5? Thank you. PSA 6, Steve. Steve Garten. Jim. Thank you. Diane. Gail. Thank you. Terry. Steve. Steve Brome. Excuse, thank you. Dorothy. Winona. Thank you. Did I say that right? Okay, Gail. Thank you. Stephen. Sharon. Sharon Lewis. Stephanie. Thank you. Jerome. Eloise. Linda. Anybody else from PSA 6? Thank you. PSA 7, Clarence. Ida. Lenora. Present. No? Okay. Rogine. Jim, Dr. Jim. Thank you. Melody. Thank you. Anybody else from PSA 7 I have not called? Okay, PSA 8, Jan. Jan McCormick. Janice, Jan. I have Jan in parentheses. Okay, McCormick, okay. Sherry? I said that wrong last year, too, didn't I? Cherry, is it Cherry or Sherry? Sherry, okay. Elizabeth. Betsy, I have Betsy in parentheses. Frank. Cynthia. Jay, Barbara. I have Janet and Jan in parentheses. Kimbrell. Okay. Daryl. Q. Ross. Jay Kalman. Thank you. Randall. You're here.
Present.
Memory. Anybody else from PSA 8 I have not called? Okay, thank you. PSA 9, Herb. Gil. Joyce. Anna.
Present.
Pamela. Mary. Anyone else from PSA 9, a name I have not called? Okay, thank you. PSA 10, Ronnie. Jeanette. Jeanette Myers. Okay. Boyd. Jeanette. Okay, because hers is Jean, Jeanette, Jeanette, and yours is J.A. Okay, thank you. Kurt.
Present.
Thank you. Jim. Shirley. Sharon. Leonard. Anybody else from PSA 10, a name I have not called? Thank you. PSA 11, Mary Calhoun. Mary Penrose. Norma. Katie Hoffman. David. And Gary is excused. Anyone else from PSA 11 that I have not called? Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to our session.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to record their presence? Yes, Sherry. Would you mind coming to the well, please?
Sherry Grogan, Leavenworth County, and the question is our WebEx active for our remote participants?
Yes. You might. Okay, so we are getting some responses from WebEx.
It's working fine.
They're coming from the vicinity of the murals. All right, the clerk will close the roll. Chair recognizes Representative Speaker Pro Tem, Representative Chuck Schmidt.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House adopt the following rules of the House: that a majority constitutes 50% plus one, and that we use roll call voting unless the presiding officer chooses to use a voice vote.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any other guests that need to be or should be introduced at this time on the floor? Okay, introduction of resolutions. The clerk will read.
Silver Hair Resolution numbers 4006. Whereas leveraging the federal resources that come to Medicaid expansion is Kansas' biggest opportunity to finance healthcare reforms efforts. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Silver Hair Legislature of the state of Kansas that we urge the legislature of the state of Kansas to support the expansion of Medicaid in Kansas. And I have on my list, that is Committee 1 in room 142S, which is south. I have Alfred Rangel and Shirley Fair, and I have notebook paper. And if you need a pen, I also have a pen that you can take to the committees. Please take notes, bring back any handouts or anything, and so that when everything is over and done, I can take those so that I can scan them in so that those that are not here will be able to read what goes on in your committees. Resolution number 4007. Whereas it is necessary for the future of Kansas and Kansas children to expand financial assistance to relatives so that such relatives may provide care homes that support our children. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the silver-haired legislature of the state of Kansas that we urge the legislature to expand the Grandparents as Caregivers Act to include certain relatives and allow such relatives to be eligible for assistance to provide Kansas children with appropriate and safe placements and access to service. That is committee number 2, which will also include see that. That's on committee 1, grandparents' right. So you have 4006, 4007 that goes to that committee. I have a copy of the script if you need it. And also please make sure that you have copies of the resolutions that go with that committee. So those are the 2 that go to committee 1. Chuck, I'm trying to read your writing. Medicaid M, is that medical marijuana? You have it abbreviated. You want to look at your notes?
I'll cover that.
Medical cannabis? Okay. All right. So thank you for the correction. Committee 1, medical cannabis and grandparents. So medical cannabis is 4008. So committee 1 is 4007 and 4008. 4008, whereas medical cannabis, especially applicants that include, I'm not even going to try that one, has been reported to improve care for patients with chronic pain conditions, including pain associated with multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, fibromyalgia, and endometriosis, nausea resulting from various conditions, post-traumatic stress disorder, especially in military veterans, HIV, cause pain and wasting, and other medical conditions. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the silver-haired legislature of the state of Kansas that we urge the legislature of the state of Kansas to legalize the expanded medical use of cannabis. And you'll have to forgive me for not being a little bit more organized. Okay, committee number 2 is in room 152 South. Which is 4006 that I had previously read. And voting rights, which is 4010. Whereas Kansas seniors firmly believe in the right and duty to vote, now therefore be it resolved by the silver-haired legislature of the state of Kansas that we oppose any efforts by the legislature of the state of Kansas or any county election officials that would restrict or prevent Kansas seniors from exercising their right to vote, and be it further resolved that we urge the legislature of the state of Kansas to support the voting rights of seniors and all other registered voters by ensuring accessibility to the polls. And I have Jock Barber and Lenny Schufler that will be in that committee, Committee 2. So that was 4010 and 4006. The last one is Committee 3, Social Security Cliff. It's in room 159S. Alan Schmidt and myself and anyone else that would like to join us. Whereas many senior citizens lived on fixed incomes and could use income tax relief to improve their financial security. And whereas eliminating the fiscal cliff by phasing out the income tax exemption using an incremental transition rather than the full amount between $75,001 and $100,000 of federal adjusted gross income would be more fair. Now therefore, be it resolved by the silver-haired legislature of the state of Kansas that we urge the legislature of the state of Kansas to support the elimination of the fiscal cliff to qualify for an exemption of Social Security benefits that from state income tax. And that is 4009. Do I have any questions on any of that? And once again, I have paper that you can take for notes and a pen if you need it. And I have a couple extra copies of the committee scripts if you should need them. Thank you.
This constitutes introduction of silver-haired legislature resolutions 4006 through 4010. The chair recognizes Representative and Floor Leader Leroy Burton for the purpose of a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House adjourn until 1 p.m. this afternoon and the members go to the respective committee rooms for the purpose of deliberation and reporting back to the House as a whole at that time.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. We do have a couple of announcements prior to leaving the chamber. And I see Jay might have something to say as well. Once again, the committee rooms are 142-S or south, that direction. And that committee room will include medical cannabis and the grandparents' resolutions. Committee room 152 south or S will be the Medicaid expansion and voting issues. And then the last committee room will be 159 S or south. And that will be the Social Security fiscal tax cliff. And those meetings will all convene at 9 a.m. That's when speakers that have been called to provide testimony are scheduled to arrive at the various rooms, and make sure, committee chairs, that you welcome them when they arrive. I will be walking around the rooms as well, Representative Schmidt, so we can help out with some of that. And then that's down on the first floor. So we're on the third floor, that's on the first floor. So you can take the stairs or the elevator down. All the rooms are in this direction. And then please keep in mind that we probably won't run into a time crunch at the end, but at noon, we're going to have lunch available. It's going to be on the fourth floor, one floor above us, south. So everything's happening on this end of the Capitol today for our purposes. And so you'll go there at noon, and then after lunch, then we will come back down to the chamber to be reconvene at 1 p.m. Do you have something else to say? All right, come to the well.
Just a couple of housekeeping things. The meal is supposedly going to be set up by 11:15, so if your committee is already done, you can go ahead and start going through the line. Secondly, a couple people have asked, and especially for the new members, the difference between a bill and a resolution for us. A bill is something that we are introducing ourselves. It's something that we have to get one of the Kansas legislators to bring it in for us, but there's not one already written. A resolution, there is already a bill in the Kansas legislature, and we are just showing our support for that bill and that we are letting them know that we will work for that. I only can remember two things at a time, so. Oh, yes, indeed. In the back of the room is the name placards. And so as you are leaving to go to the committees, pick yours up and take it to the committee room so that it can be in front of you where you sit. So the speakers and the other silver-haired legislators can see it and be aware of it. And I thought of it, but it's already gone. What's the fourth thing? I don't know. Mr. Speaker, I'll probably have to stand up again later.
And one other thing, we have a few minutes, extra minutes on the way down, especially if you take the stairs. My office was on the second floor. And if you would like to take a look at the Don Woodard mural, it's there on the second floor, right beside where my office was, 223 East. So that can, that's for free. So anyway, we do not have any further business, so you may leave to go to your committees, get set up, and we'll answer any questions when you're there. Thank you.